I'm having a beer because we're getting ready to talk about the most miserable show.
We need our strength, for sure. Well, Andy, I have some ideas for a tagline.
Okay.
For our show.
Okay.
I'm thinking, Bad Watch. We watch the shit out of shit.
I enjoy that. Tickled my crudité bone. Did you have any other taglines?
No, that was the only one I thought of. I thought that one was so good. So, Andy, what do we do on this podcast?
We watch, based on this episode, we watch really bad shows, and then we tell you, the listener, about it.
We watch shows that somehow bend the time-space continuum because they're only like 41 minutes long, but it somehow feels like 3 hours. And then when you stop watching the show, your heart has gained mass. Do you see what I did there? Space.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I got it. That was beautiful. This particular show that we watched was an emotional drain, and I question our ability to continue watching it.
I don't think we can. We'll talk about that maybe when we get to the end of this episode, but oh god. So this show we watched was called Dark Matter.
Oh, we should do introductions first.
To ourselves.
So that's Evan,
and that's Andy.
Russ.
He's my brother-in-law.
He's my brother-in-law.
We listened back to our first episode, and I was like, we never addressed like the nature of our relationship. And I did mention that I was in your house, so people probably think I'm like your gay lover.
We found each other on Craigslist, and it's just turned into
he's lying. It was Grindr. He's just embarrassed to talk about it. So.
I try to keep it on the DL.
He always says we'll discuss it, and we never do.
You gotta say it with the lisp.
He always says we'll discuss it, and we never do. Any gay listeners we had just threw their phone across the room.
Now that we're done with idiotic stereotypes.
Oh, okay. But no, Andy's married to my sister, the father of my niece, the Vivster.
Yes, I'm accomplished genetically.
Somehow you're accomplished genetically. So now this show is called Dark Matter. I think it aired on SyFy, and we sort of already broke our rules 2 episodes in because we still watched season 1 of season
2, episode 1. Stuck with that rule.
Season 2, episode 1.
But we did cheat because my wife and I had watched the show because I heard that it was like sort of an attempt to take the beauty that was Firefly and kind of transform it into another great spaghetti sort of sci-fi show. So I was really excited about it. And my wife and I ended up watching 3 or 4 episodes, and we couldn't. At the end of that time frame, neither of us had a character that we were interested in, and I walked away saying, we're done, because if they kill any of the characters, I would be fine with that.
And I can second that, having met these characters in season 2 and immediately either disliking or actively hating all of them.
So many regrets.
And also, there are so many of them. Like, you feel like the law of averages would say, like, at least one I'd kind of be rooting for. But no.
Far, I mean, I remembered the robot character, and I was like, and they showed her for about a minute, 2 minutes in the 40-minute episode, and I rooted for her.
Annie Droid. Yeah, our good friend Annie Droid.
Yeah.
So, Andy had watched the first 4 episodes of season 1. We jumped back into season 2, and I still have no idea what's going on, but I'm going to try and recap it as best as I can. So, in the first season, there's a bunch of people who wake up on a ship called the Raza, and they don't know who they are.
The question the question, dear listener, that you heard in Evan's voice when he said the Raza is because it took, I mean, I thought it was clear by context clues what the name of the ship was 30 minutes in, but I think it was like minute 38. Evan goes, wait, what's the Raza? And it's like they were referencing it constantly by that point. It was really funny.
They are. So they're all on this ship called the Raza. That's a declarative statement, everybody. And they don't know who they are, and they don't know each other's names. So they give each other numbers.
Yeah.
And I know that I wanted to do on this show where I gave everyone a cute nickname. And for some people, I definitely did that. We're definitely going to talk about Creepy Dad. But also, sometimes I just wrote down their actual character name because I had no idea who these fucking people were. And it made me so angry.
It's a powerful show. But yeah, so there's all these characters. They come to, they try and figure out what's going on. And from my knowledge of the previous episodes, they do jobs and they start killing each other, killing other people, and like figuring out things. So it's kind of an interesting. I mean, it's been done before. Amnesia's a
and you sort of learn that when they were in the first season, they learned about some aspects of who they are, and somehow they're all badasses in some way. All these people on the Raza, and
they're pretty lucky in that respect.
I don't know how they landed on the Raza or how exactly they're badasses, but so then at one point during the recap, and this was honestly my favorite. We'll get to my favorite. This is my second favorite moment of the entire episode, where one of the main characters, he's a generic white guy, so I'll just call him Whitey. He's looking at a double of himself, and he says, "You have my face," and and the complete lack of irony in his voice is so charming.
Did they picture? Was that when did they show? I feel like I actually missed that portion of it. Was he actually pictured wearing full black at that point?
It was
Of course.
Whitey squaring off against Dark Whitey, he was Whitey with gel in his hair, wearing a leather jacket. Dark Whitey.
And I don't actually know the time frame of this. So it's future. We have space travel. The world building is. We'll get to this. I thought about this late into the night last night.
It can't be that far into the future because everyone looks like they shop at the Gap. And
yeah, it's like there's like mind-blowing technology. Oh, khakis and loafers. Got it.
One guy did have a cool tie, but it's nothing that you can't go buy at Macy's right today.
The costume design leaves something to be desired. Let's put it that way.
Honestly, we finished watching this, and we planned to record this episode right after watching this episode, the show, and we were both so broken in spirit that we couldn't do it. Here we are this evening. So let's try and burn through this dumpster fire of a TV show. So the smash cut. We open, and the crew of the Raza, they're like all lying down in an elevator, and then they wake up, and they stand up, and then there's like decontamination sequence, and they get blasted with purple smoke, which from the characters' reactions you would think was tear gas, because they are all screaming and crying. There's a guy who's like clearly a shitty Leonardo DiCaprio.
There's gnashing and wailing, gnashing of teeth and wailing.
Yeah, and there's shitty DiCaprio. There's a pretty lady, and then they come out of the elevator, and they're very clearly like in some sort of guard or cop uniform. They give them this nice little folded stack of clothes.
With their boat shoes.
With the boat shoes. Also, I should mention, when they woke up in the elevator, before they were hit with tear gas, they were told to strip down. And they only get down to their underwear, because this is SyFy, not HBO. And they're in their undies, and they're given these new clothes, and then the doors open, and they're in space jail. And for a second, I was very excited because number one, space, and number two, jail. And then
wait, why do those excite you? I mean, I get space. What hidden fantasies do you have about jail?
I just like a good heist escape story, and it seems like the arc of this season is that the Raza crew are going to try and bust out a space jail.
Yeah, that's definitely like everyone immediately starts off in that path after they're
It's
To
Ocean's
sign their jail cell.
It's Ocean's 5, and you don't know anyone's names. Matt Damon was not invited. So they wake up or they go out into space jail, and then there's this really crappy CGI like overview shot, and your wife, my sister, pointed out that it looked like a Lego construction, which was startlingly accurate. It was very funny. And then there's other people who are in a cell in the Lego compound. One of them has blue-green hair, the other is whitey. And we later learn that blue-green hair is supposed to be, 16?
16, going on 25.
Yeah, easily 24, 25 years old.
Playing it like a 12-year-old. It's awful.
Yeah. Also, she acts like she just turned 13.
It's terrible. It's so bad. Like, okay, child acting is something that's generally like a weak point. So this person was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to watch 12-year-old child actors and mimic that behavior for my 16-year-old. It was so bad. Not endearing to any degree. It was awful.
It's like they cast her and they're like, well, she clearly can't convey the maturity of a 16-year-old. Let's just have her go younger. And she even screws that up. But anyway, they're like roommates in a cell, I guess. It's a very generously sized cell.
With everything on the wall looks like it's a cargo hatch. Like,
it looks like they have drawer storage for days. Martha Stewart would either be thrilled or a little annoyed. I couldn't decide.
Cabinets.
Cabinets on cabinets on cabinets. Then the guy I would like to call Constipation walks in, and he's in one of the guard cop uniforms. And the reason I'm calling him Constipation is because the entire episode he has this look on his face like he's really trying hard to poop, and he's also very confused.
His eyebrows are furrowed upwards, and it's like there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure somewhere in the system.
And apparently I learned that while he's talking to Blue Hair and Whitey, like he was on the Raza, and at some point he found out he was actually an undercover cop. And despite having only learned like moments ago he was an undercover cop, he then started fighting crime, I guess. And he sort of...
Because the people of the Raza are apparently all evil to some degree. And so they're mercenaries and bad folk and conmen and fraudsters. So he's doing his, civic duty by taking them down. But he just decided to trust... I mean, we're obviously missing quite a bit of backstory. It just felt very rushed and...
because I mean, if number one, they had a whole season to set this up, and it seems like in the first from the jump in season 2, no one has any clue what's happening.
Yeah, so. They wake up in the elevator, or there's like one guy who's like late when they initially land in the elevator. One guy is laying down, and he gets up and goes, "What's going on?" And everyone else is already standing, so apparently they just like let him sleep for a bit. Like, I don't know how season 1 ended, but they were just like, that guy can nap. That's fine.
No one knows how season 1 ended, apparently. Not even the characters on the show.
Yeah, what happened? Like, how you forgot how you got here again? Is this episodic amnesia? What's wrong with you people?
So then, the cop's name, Constipation Man, his actual character name is Cal. And he's like a lieutenant or something. And he still doesn't remember everything, but he seems to know the most about his identity compared to Whitey and Blue Hair, who I think they call number 3, and then they're talking about someone number 5. And I was just like, this show is so fucked right from the start. I was like, I hate all of this so much. I was like, they couldn't come up with more creative names than numbers.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they were short on time. They had to figure things out. I just also have to quickly state that this was so exhausting. It was just like it just kept going, and there were a couple points that were like that stood out, but it was mostly just like a drudgery of the soul that went on and on. So yeah. This will stick in my do not ever watch. I would not advise anyone to watch it.
On a scale of fun bad watch from evil death souled crushing bad watch, it's like it broke the scale. It's really awful. Also, Blue Hair is wearing like a camo jacket, And I'm curious, if they're in outer space, what need do any of them have for traditional green and dark green and black camouflage?
It's a leafy ship. They went green.
I didn't see a single plant, I don't think, the entire 40 minutes. And
there wasn't. Oh no, there was in the prison boss's spot.
He's like a shitty ficus or something. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So anyway, they're talking to Cal, sad cop, poopy cop. And it cuts back to the prison very briefly, just long enough for my favorite moment of the episode, which is when, rather than putting on the new clothes they were given, the new inmates at Space Jail walk to their new living quarters just in their skivvies, carrying their clothes. And what's weird is, like, in any other prison scenario, there'd be like hooting and hollering, because there are like some attractive women on this show. Unfortunately, they have no acting ability. But like the men, I'm not interested in. Shitty DiCaprio, he really does look like a shitty DiCaprio. But so they're walking to their cells, and no one's like, people look at them, but no one's like catcalling them. So maybe it's a very polite space jail. Well, but I was like, why don't they just...
I think it was more that they were supposed to be like the badass Raza. At least that's like everyone's like that's what they're saying later, right? The one girl.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because everyone has a name tag. Mm-hmm. Everyone has a name tag that says "I was on the Raza." Fuck off. And
they're all
that's
well-known super badasses.
Everyone knows who they are from day one at their new school.
But they get marched to their cells. They get put in their cells, and like a force field thing closes, which is just like. Anytime I see like energy field stuff for a jail, it's like, but what if the power goes out? Like it's over.
Yeah,
like,
that's a fair point. Again. I mean, it is built out of Legos. I don't think they should rely on that kind of infrastructure. Also, then we immediately
just irresponsible.
For no reason, we cut back to Whitey, and Whitey is apparently like the heir to some company, industrial in space, and a lawyer comes from the company and breaks him out. Big Nose Blondie is what I call it. I shouldn't make fun of her appearance. Blondie. She did have quite a schnoz on her, though. I mean,
you're still commenting on her appearance when you just say Blondie, too.
The lawyer lady gets him out, but green hair can't come with him, and she's, like, sulking and listening to My Chemical Romance. And then Poopy Cop is like, I don't know what's going on. And actually, he's the only one who knows what's going on. But he's sort of the audience surrogate in all of this, where... you want to poop and you're confused the entire time you're watching the show.
And you're slowly getting through that poop with him, just at the same speed that he is.
Then he goes to an office that is strangely decorated and inhabited by a fake Sacha Baron Cohen figure type. And there are weird child drawings, not hanging on the wall. They're just like hanging from strings attached to the ceiling.
Oh, yeah.
And
so
these are just...
Warden's office.
Yeah,
right.
and these are just like two-dimensional pieces of paper with pencil drawings on them, and for some reason they're hanging so you can only ever see one side of the art. It's really weird.
So it's like a strange, like, are they trying to frame him as a daddy person? But then they have the words he's reading are for a script, like he's a prick, like he's a terrible person, and they're like, I don't.
Prick.
Like, I don't really understand if they were trying to he's got a human side. Was there, like, some depth they were trying to portray? But they never touch on it.
It never comes up again, the fact that his child... He was the guy who wrote Baby Shoes for Sale, Never Worn. And it's just never...
He is the way he is.
Yeah, Warden Prick. That's his backstory. I just decided.
Now, you know what? I really... damn it, Evan. Now I'm going to have to watch it because now I'm really like, I'm all about the Warden. I need to know what is... Like, because you know it's going to come out. He's going to be a main character and how this heist goes down. Yeah. Damn it, now I need to know.
He's going to be like, oh, I didn't know you can escape. Can I come with you? I just work here.
I need to escape my emotional boundaries.
Anyway, Whitey's talking to Prick, and Whitey keeps asking about his dead wife. And for some reason, we're really supposed to care about this storyline, even though I don't think the wife was ever in season 1, was she?
I didn't see. I don't recall ever hearing about her.
I mean, the way he talks about her, it's in this episode, it's like he's been obsessed with her since he woke up on the Raza, which does not seem to be the case. I was like, this dude's
he didn't
like,
know
what?
it, right?
Yeah. And so he has a dead wife that he's trying to like figure out how she died, I guess. I don't know.
But he didn't remember her, so I don't understand, like, why would you care?
Yeah, he just heard about his wife for the first time and that she's dead.
I feel like I'd be like sad if I didn't know her.
But all
like,
of a sudden
right.
he's like Magnum PI or what's Humphrey Sam Spade. I was going to say what's Humphrey Bogart's name in that one movie, The Maltese Falcon. Sam Spade.
Can we watch that? Oh, that's a good watch. Never mind. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's a good watch. We can recommend that later in the show.
Okay.
Then we cut back to Space Jail, and like some of the prisoners, their force fields go down so they can go get food with their ration cards. And then Frogman, my second favorite character on the show, he comes in. He's like, "Hello, hello."
Oh, God, that was awful. Yes, I forgot. I thought you were talking about one of the main characters. No, this is a world rich with secondary characters, where the primary characters are terrible.
They're all so good. This man, he is African American, I believe, and they're like, I think someone told him, do a Nigerian accent. He's like, I can't do a Nigerian accent. And they're like, we'll fix it in post. Because this man, I immediately dubbed him Frogman, because he's like, oi, give me your ration card. But that's like too cockney. That's giving him too much credit. It was very weird and uncomfortable. It was like very deep in his throat. And I was like, why does he talk like this? Did someone punch him in the throat right before he showed up?
The secondary character story. I'm just, another person I need to know more about. And
and so he tries to fight.
Stop making this attractive for me to watch again. I'd appreciate it.
So he gets in a fight with Shitty DiCaprio because he says Shitty DiCaprio owes him money from the life Shitty DiCaprio doesn't remember. Like pre-Raza days.
Some bank robbery he didn't pay him for.
And Shitty DiCaprio is shitty in all the ways. And so he gets immediately like tossed onto the bed and hurt. And then one of his buddies comes to fight.
No. First another person wants his
another
ration
person who I called Sexy Nix. She's very attractive. Her name is Nix. So like Stevie Nicks, but Sexy Nix.
She also so she's like a warrior woman type character. And apparently the first thing she fought was her shirt, because it's all cut up in weird ways.
But
then she fights Frogman. Yeah. Or no, she intimidates Frogman.
Frogman leaves.
He and his crew leave.
And then Pretty Lady from the elevator comes back, and she's like, oh, already making new friends. And meanwhile, Shady DiCaprio is still on the bed. Or no, I think Nix was asking him for his ration card, and he's like, that's what Frogman wanted from me.
Yeah, why wouldn't I just give it to him then?
Also, the food in this jail, it looks like poo that they dye fun colors. So I don't know why anyone's fighting over to eat more of this disgusting looking
Also,
food.
Everyone looks pretty fit, so I was like, they're not starving you.
No one is starving. No one's overweight. They're all Hollywood.
But
thin.
We do come to find out that she was just testing the crew, the badass Raza.
Yeah,
and that's what's going on.
I wanted to pick a fight with someone on the Raza. And so Pretty Lady does fight her, and they're very evenly matched, like perfectly evenly matched somehow. And then they both get thrown in solitary. Now let's before, I know we're going out of order in the episode, but while they're in solitary, first of all, I'd like to point out that all of their cells are solitary, and none of them have windows. So I'm not really sure what the difference is.
This is where I think I could go on for like 15 minutes. I'm really excited to take you on this journey with me, Evan. The solitary thing blew my mind.
It's so weird. And as your wife pointed out, it's unclear if there's a toilet. There's a mysterious hole in the wall that's sort of low to the ground, but it's also in the wall. It's not in the floor like you would hope for.
You have to like fold your body in half and just shove your ass in there.
You have to have explosive bowel movements in order for this toilet to function.
But that's why they feed you such poor food.
Yeah, I think so. That. The plumbing broke years ago, and so they're like, well, we got to make this work somehow.
This was originally a mining facility, but the miners wouldn't put up with the crappers they installed, and so now it's a prison.
Yeah. Oh God!
But here's favorite. This is the best thing. Okay, so these two women, they fought. Now they're in solitary.
Yeah, Nix and Pretty Lady are in solitary separately. But for whatever reason, when you're in solitary, and only when you're in solitary, there's like a Star Trek "Beam Me Up, Johnny" thing.
Little blue circle.
Blue circle you stand on in the floor of your cell, and it sends you to what I like to call the shitty matrix.
Now, I actually have to contest. So, Evan, you made that comment last night. And then last night, show ate away at me, and I thought long and hard about the implications of this technology. So we really got to get into this because this is insane.
Well, let's walk it back. So she steps onto the thing. She steps onto the circle on the floor, not knowing what it does. And
apparently, maybe she knows. We don't know.
Yeah. Well, the Nyx lady has to explain it to Pretty Lady when they get into
to the humans.
To the audience, because we're like, what? Why are they in the middle of a field?
Yeah. So she steps in. There's a flash of light. She's in the middle of a field. And she's like, it's cold.
Yeah, and it's like, no shit, it's cold. You're outside some movie set. Like
the back lot.
You're on the back lot up on Vancouver, you dummies. And they're cold, and they're like, we could fight out here and then go back, and we wouldn't feel a thing, I guess.
And she's like, well, yeah. She's like, why is it cold? She's like, the warden's idea of a joke.
And that's never touched on again. But maybe his daughter died of hypothermia.
Hypothermia. Okay. Oh, I have to know more about this warden. So they like talk, and they're like, she's like, oh, that was my favorite part. She's like, you're a good fighter. So are you. The men are, worthless. They always underestimate you. And she's like, yeah, well, you're a really good fighter, surprisingly. Therefore, clearly underestimating the character she just, like...
Yeah, Pretty Lady is no better than the men, I think is what we're supposed to gather, because she, too, underestimated fighter Nyx. Mm-hmm. Sexy Nyx, Stevie Nyx.
But okay, so first, the shitty Matrix, which is a way better version of the Matrix. I just have to go into this here because so what you do is you can step into something, a beam of coherent light or something. Yep,
that's how it works.
It interfaces with your mind and takes your mind to another. It takes over your vision centers. All of your inputs are controlled now, and all you had to do is be in a beam. So it's way better than the Matrix. You don't have to jam something into your skull.
Yeah, you don't have to have the unfortunate body piercings that you do to use the Matrix.
But I was just like, that changes. Like, they have loafers and khakis and the ability to take people's minds and put them places, like at will.
Yeah.
Like I was like, this changes everything. You don't need to do anything anymore.
What's weird is it also seems like unless the people who are on the Raza somehow forgot that they have the shitty Matrix elsewhere in the universe, it seems like the Nyx, like Stevie Nyx, has also only used it in jail.
Yeah.
I think they have this amazing technology that is only given to prisoners.
It's so strange. And they're like, it's solitary, but you can also hang out with your buddies.
And you can't do this when you're in regular solitary, not special solitary.
Why wouldn't they just give everyone the option to, I don't know, work digitally or something, and then no one can rebel against you? I was like, none of this makes sense. You have this technology.
It's literal telecommuting that no one is using. It's really frustrating as someone who would love to telecommute.
Yeah, Whitey needed to go home so he could work. And it was like, you could just step into this chamber and everything works.
Yeah, and so then we cut away from Pretty Lady and Stevie Nyx in Shitty Matrix, and we go back to Shitty DiCaprio, who is in Space Infirmary, and the space nurse
because he got punched in the face.
He got punched in the face, and he's he's hurting, and Space Nurse is wearing the same kind of scrubs you would see at any hospital in the U.S. of A. And she is pretty. She has like long red hair, but she's not like one of those like cartoon nurses. What was that show, Animaniacs, where the nurse was like, "Oh yeah." It's like, no, it's just she's dressed like a nurse,
like a regular lady.
Yeah, a regular lady doing her job. Like, and for some reason we have to objectify her.
And already this guy is like a lecherous.
He's like, ooh, the nurse. And then the guy on the infirmary bed next to him, he goes, "You figured it out, didn't you?" And DiCaprio's like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "It's the food's better, the view is better." And then he like looks over at the nurse again, like not bent over showing them her butt, just like doing something with a test tube, I think. Just like doing her job.
Regular job things.
And he's like, I had a radiation burn, and the pain is minimal, but there's the 5 days of therapy, so I come down here, and and DiCaprio's like, what a creep. And and then DiCaprio leaves and has to go do laundry. Like, literally all he has to do is take sheets out of a giant laundry hamper, put them on a waffle iron, a waffle steamer, and then fold them. And for some reason, he's exhausted after doing a load of these. And
like
so
super basic. It's been less than a day, and he is cracking under the pressure.
DiCaprio is so shitty that he goes to the infirmary twice in the same day because he finishes doing one load of laundry, another load comes in, and he's like, fuck this, and he puts his hand on the waffle steamer and closes the steamer. So then he gets a very bad burn, and he has to go back, but pretty nurse is gone, and in her place is one of the other prisoners who I guess has medical training. Again, a way more interesting character than anyone else the show focuses on. And he's like, and God. DiCaprio's like, where'd the other nurse go? And the guy's like, stress leave. She transferred out or something like that. And then he also asks, he's like, well, what about creepy dad? And he's like, oh, well, it turns out he was faking his injuries, so he was transferred to psych unit or something like that. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden DiCaprio is feeling much better. And he talks about how easy his job is. He's like, yeah, I just need to, push this thing down. I can do that with a burnt hand. You bandaged it up real good. So then he's out of the sick bay, so he doesn't have to go to psych ward. And you know what? I would like to think that Creepy Dad is still super stoked to be in the psych ward. He's like, hell yeah! What do we do here?
This prison seems really clean. It seems pretty chill. I don't really get this whole
Yeah.
the panic. I mean, they got to set up the arc somehow of them studying and trying to disrupt stuff. I get it, but at the same point, it's like, you've been here a day. Just
he's been here a day, and he can't even handle a simple load of laundry.
He's never.
I mean,
maybe this is really commentary on white privilege. Is that you're discussing their lack of laundry ability or something?
Maybe he acts like it's the most arduous job in the world, and I'm like, what? I was like, what are you talking about? This is the easiest method of laundry I've ever seen. But okay.
So their laundry tech has increased. Clothes has not.
Yeah, they have new laundry tech, all the same clothes to wash but their clothes are space clean, future space clean. So then we cut back to Whitey, and Whitey is like, because he's like an heir to this company, he's like CEO now. And the guy with the cool tie comes in. He's like, I'm going to take care of you. I told your dad before he died. And I was like, he doesn't care about his dad dying, but again brings up his dead wife. And somehow...
He also didn't know.
He didn't know either of these people, but he's decided to focus on his wife. And you also never see a photo of his wife, but maybe she's just like... bangerang hot. I don't know. Maybe that's why he's like, who killed this beautiful creature?
No, you do remember, because then he was looking at her and he's like, I want to reopen the investigation into my dead wife. And he's like, she was a gorgeous lady or something that's like unsuitably creepy.
Yeah, another guy objectifying a woman.
That was Thai guy.
I like that. Thai guy. And then Whitey's
the CFO of this organization, or CEO.
Yeah, or like interim CEO or something. So basically Whitey figures out like much later, he's like, oh, I'm taking that dude's job? That's fucked up. But we'll get back to Whitey. And also Dark Whitey. Yeah, so then Whitey's like, some security guard talked to the guy convicted of killing my wife, and like the dude's
really
like
pushing the story, and it's like
they're really trying to push the story, and again
care.
It goes absolutely nowhere by the end of this episode, but we'll touch on that.
So then the next scene we cut to is the monk character. I don't remember what number he was from the Raza.
19 or something. Yeah, the monk. Yeah, angry monk sits down.
Tibetan dude.
Tibetan he clearly doesn't meditate enough. He's very angry.
He needs to chill.
He needs to get his chi in fucking order. But is that a meditation thing? I don't actually know. Dude should go check out the prison yoga offerings, is what I'm saying. But he sits down to eat lunch, or it's very unclear what time of day it is, because again, there are no windows anywhere in the prison or in space, and, unless you're in the warden's office.
Oh, this is my favorite part.
So Angry Monk, is sitting by himself. I just keep thinking of Tony Shalhoub when we're talking about this guy as a monk. But anyway.
Monk. You wouldn't like him when he's angry. He solves crimes.
Oh my god. But Angry Monk is sitting by himself. He has like a very... it looked like a delicious bread roll and like poopy porridge on his tray. And these three dudes get up from a nearby table because, of course, Angry Monk is sitting by himself. He doesn't have any friends.
The Raza stay alone.
Yeah, the Razas fly alone until the end of the episode when they're like, hell yeah, let's break out of this bitch together. Anyway, they come up and they're like, he wants to see you. And he's like, who wants to see me? He's like, you'll find out when we get you there. And it's like, this so is like, dumb. It's the weirdest, like,
what type of organization is this?
It's...
It doesn't operational security.
None of it makes any sense because, like, as soon as the guy, the Angry Monk, goes with these dudes, like much later, there's stuff in between that, but you immediately learn his name. So there's no reason that the trio of dudes Angry Monk ends up fighting in the cafeteria couldn't have just said...
It was set up for him to be Angry Monk's guy with him.
you need to come see Eric plural because his name is Eric's. And it just really made me mad. I was like, they mean plural Eric? Like,
I'm sure it's spelled Arix.
But before he meets Eric's, the leader of the gangster trio walks up to Angry Monk's tray and flicks the bread roll off. Now, he doesn't flick it onto the floor because that would be going a step too far. It merely rolls off the tray and onto what looks like a very clean cafeteria table.
This is not like a violent prison, it's a melodramatic prison. Is what it is.
It's like all the kids who got kicked out of drama club, they're in this prison. Because they're like slapping each other with gloves and challenging each other to duels.
It just doesn't make any sense. It's ridiculous.
It's so weird. And then Angry Monk takes this as a cue to fight them since he doesn't know who they want him to meet and they touched his bread roll.
Nobody touches my loaf.
And so then he starts fighting the gangster trio, and he's like a badass. He legit looked to be good at some form of martial arts.
Sort of like Hawaii Five-0. He just throw punches the guy.
He throw punches him. He does some spinning kicks, and he looks cool doing it. And then for whatever reason, I think because it's a drama club prison, everyone else joins in the fight.
Fighting everyone else.
They're fighting everyone else. Like, they're not trying to break up the initial fight. They're starting new fights.
Yeah.
And then the guards...
But this is apparently, like, they all knew, like, the guys... Well, before this fight starts, he's like, do you want to, like, make your move? He's like, we don't do that here. And so then they know something's going to go down.
Yeah, and then... Because, like, the Angry Monk somehow can see from the back... behind him, like, the nearest guard is checking his phone and not paying attention. He's like, looks like we have the room to ourselves. And so then they throat punch and kick and everyone's fighting. And then a siren goes off that makes all the prisoners drop to the floor because it's very high pitched. But the guards have special earpieces. Yeah. And then everyone wakes up. And
it turns out Monk is like a super genius because he planned that all along. He wanted to find out the weakness of whatever they're using to suppress people.
He wanted to see their riot response because nothing is more certain to start a riot than someone flicking your bread roll. But it's... I wish I was making some of this up. Yeah, I think I wrote down Justice has left the building. I think that was when they fight. And then we're in the shitty Matrix for a bit. It turns out Whitey's real name is Boone.
He's a con man.
Yeah, but is that? Oh no, Boone is DiCaprio. Whitey is Whitey.
Is the rich
He's
CEO
like,
dude?
Oh, they killed my wife.
Yeah,
my wife. I just found out about. Oh.
So then they meet. So then the Monk dude is taken to meet Eric's because apparently the guards are like, well, everyone stopped fighting, so it's fine again.
Yeah,
and no one got it. Like, he didn't go to solitary, which was actually not solitary at all.
He did not go to special solitary. He merely went nowhere and met Eric's.
There was zero punishment for starting a riot.
Yeah, he's not at all penalized. despite the fact he started it, literally. And he meets Eric's, and Eric's is like, listen, the warden likes to look good on his quarterly reports, so I make sure things run smoothly. He's like the shadow warden or something. Mm-hmm. And Angry Monk is like, I'm not doing this because I have principles or something. I don't know.
He's with the Raza. They travel together.
They
make their own flying V.
They're something. Fucking A, dude. Yeah. But so
I feel like I'm emotionally losing steam just continuing.
I am
to
too. I'm trying to
awful.
flip through my notes. So again, Eric's is like, you need to do this, and Angry Monk is like, no, and he leaves, and nothing happens again. This show has zero narrative stakes.
A lot of nothing happens. It's all set up for the rest of the season. I guess I get it, but at the same time, I hate it. And then we go to the girls in solitary. They're being released. Apparently, they spent 2 days in there. They're let out after 2 days, and the girl from the Raza, is like having difficulty walking. There's like nothing going on that her muscles would have atrophied. I don't really understand it.
Yeah.
And he's like, the prison guard's like, that was only 2 days.
Next time it's 2 weeks.
Yeah, and he's like, I've seen people, smear poop on the walls, and it's like, why? You should visit a parkland
and
in
instead,
this. I don't understand.
She stands up. Maybe that's the side effect of the Matrix, that it's just murder on your hammies.
That's why it doesn't see wide civilian use. I got it. Okay.
Yeah, it's that they could never get rid of that, but the Wachowski siblings were like, "We've got this. Let's put some holes in the backs of people's heads and get cool guns and leather jackets." Awesome.
Yeah, the hammies are safe though.
No one's hammies bother them at all. So she gets out of solitary. What else did I write down? Machine poop food. Whitey is wearing Gap clothes, still talking about my wife. Also, he finds out that the security guard, who somehow was a witness in the death of his wife, was murdered moments after Whitey asked about his testimony the day before.
The CEO dude who he told about it obviously ordered him. Like, it's very clear that he's a bad guy that we're going to find out about later. Like, super clear.
Yes. And then... they talk about electroshock therapy, I have written down. Oh, and then the crew of the Raza...
Oh, that's what's in the psych ward, is the electroshock therapy.
Yeah.
So they have the Matrix. They can go inside your mind. They can show you places and make you see things and feel things.
And a practice started in the 1950s.
Zap you in the brain.
Yeah, it's 200 years from now. We'll be doing electric shock therapy in space, everyone. That's something to look forward to, right?
Oh, God, it's so dumb.
And they have a food huddle in the cafeteria where they're like, Angry Monk's like, I tested the riot response, and Pretty Lady's like, I went to the shitty Matrix, and then DiCaprio's like, are we doing this? I think we're doing this. And you realize you realize they're gonna do like a space prison breakout,
right? And then over the course of this, we keep flashing back to consternation, consternation, as he's like figuring stuff out. Apparently, like the crew of the Raza was going to be up for trial, and then they're not going to be up for trial because of a political thing, and they're like splitting up the crew. And the girl is wanted because they're gonna arrest her and get her to, like, it's just, there's so much happening, but also it's so much nothing, which is why I think it's so draining as you watch this.
And also there are so many goddamn characters, and I hated all of them. Except for constipation. I really hope he gets to sit down and have a good poop.
He could use it. Yeah.
He has some stress happening. Oh, and you find out that blue-green hair, who's 16 somehow, she's really like emotionally screwed up in many ways, but also a terrible actor.
She feels so betrayed by consternation because he did this whole thing, and she's like this crew, which I remember from the previous season, we're murdering people. She's like, no, they're my family now. We're tight. Everything's great.
And
I'm gonna hang with them forever.
I guess to sort of manufacture more narrative stakes that don't go anywhere, the warden prick is like, oh, we have to send her to a group home. And then he's talking to one of the guards, and the guard is like, well, what about the other guy who lawyered up, which they're talking about Whitey. And they're like, oh, he's Earthside. They'll have to handle it down there, or something like that. And then we
There's all these political machinations happening, and you just don't care about any of them.
And I just wanted the whole place to blow up, and then the show wouldn't exist anymore. But so then
we would all be in a better place.
We would be in the good place, which is a definite good watch. So then we do cut to Earthside. Whitey is in his very swanky apartment, wearing clothes from the Gap, and he gets a buzzer on the door. And rather than look at the peephole, he just opens it.
There's a video screen that he could have accessed.
There's a video screen, a space peephole, as we call it. And he just opens the door, and who's there but Dark Whitey? And Dark Whitey's like, long time no see, motherfucker. No, he doesn't swear, but he does shoot Whitey
like 5 times.
Multiple times. He shoots him like 3 times in the chest, and he falls backward onto his perfectly sculpted hair, and then Dark Whitey stands over him and shoots him in the head. So all of that guff about finding out who killed his wife and taking over some industrial organization,
just none of it mattered.
It goes nowhere because Whitey is very much dead, unless in space times they have figured out how to undo traumatic brain injuries.
See, they realize the writers realized that this was the darkest timeline, and so they're gonna undo it the next episode. That's what's gonna happen.
I just
and that's how the episode ends.
And thank God that's how the episode ends. Now
we had to stop and check how much time was left. Like usually 40 minutes. Like I love watching movies. 40 minutes is no problem.
At
like 35, it was like, I need to stop.
It really felt like it would have been so much. I at one point legitimately thought, and this was maybe halfway through the episode, I was like, maybe this was like a 2-hour season premiere.
Right,
and we really fucked up in picking this episode. But nope, it's just a regular 42-minute episode of television, and I wanted to die the entire time. So
just don't watch it. Don't do it.
Dark Matter, the worst watch. Now, before we get to predictions, spoiler alert, I hope everyone dies. We have another sponsor this week, and this episode of Bad Watch is brought to you by Bloody Fork. Now, what's Bloody Fork, you ask? Well, unlike most home delivery meal package thingies, Bloody Fork finds people who don't want to go to the store, but they need to cook food, and also hunters who kill like very large animals, and they're never going to prepare all of that food for their own dinner table, and they put the two groups together. So the hunters, fresh from their kill, they give like half of it to people who don't hunt, but they want to cook some good venison and quail, grizzly bear, beaver, and other things that you probably shouldn't eat. So I know these are supposed
to be crazy, but that actually sounds like a pretty reasonable plan. Like I'm like, oh, is it? Like, can we do that? Is that a thing? Because it actually sounds pretty great.
Andy, I don't know why you're playing coy, because as Bloody Fork is our sponsor this week, they actually gave you a free trial. So it's my understanding that a hunter stopped by your place over the weekend, and I don't know what they dropped off.
If I find a goddamn bloody bag just in my back porch, I'm going to kill you.
I'm hoping you get to make some deer hot dogs or something. That sounds good.
Some meat pies.
Not spoiler alert, but I just became a vegetarian again in real life. It's been vegetarianism and we have a love-hate relationship. So they didn't give me at Bloody Fork the free trial, but Andy, my understanding is that yours is coming or should already be there. So just be on the lookout. Put out a bolo.
Oh, look, possum.
But so let me finish reading this ad copy here that I'm making up as I talk. So if you go to bloodyfork.com/badwatch, you can get your first fresh kill delivery free.
So initially, I thought you were going to go with it was like roadkill. I thought that's what you were going to go with.
Well, I probably should go back to the beginning of the copy and say, Andy, have you ever been driving down the road and seen someone with a huge deer carcass on their truck and think, how are they ever going to eat all of that? Well, let me tell you, Bloody Fork is here to help you out. So that was what I was supposed to read at the beginning of this ad.
I'm glad we fixed that in post.
Marketing. Okay. Predictions for... I guess we know how Dark Matter ends in that it was canceled. Thank God, it was canceled by SyFy.
For the greater good.
Yeah, because SyFy apparently they decided, you know what, we do have standards. So.
Yeah, I was looking at the show up because I was like, I didn't actually find out how it ended. And I was like, Evan, this was canceled by SyFy. You know it's bad.
Yeah, this was before we started watching. We were thinking, oh, this should be really fun, and it was not. But my guess is what would actually happen in the show, rather than everyone dying, they somehow break out of space jail and like they're in special suits so they can breathe in space or whatever. But they fuck it up and literally everyone else in space jail dies. So the crew of the Raza, their reputation continues to grow. And also you never find out what happened to Warden Prick's daughter, who never got to wear her baby shoes but somehow did get to draw poor drawings.
I want the history of the Raza. I want like retcon the whole season, first season. Like it's not them being bad at us; it's them accidentally setting things up and just happenstance and coincidence. Like, oh, the plant didn't blow up because we set bombs. It was just really mismanaged. So
yeah, management there was awful, and I heard everyone was about to strike. So let's look for a person who was cranky with the union or something.
Yeah, they just like everything's just happenstance. They're just
and then Whitey pipes up and he's like, I bet that's the guy who killed my wife, who I just found out about 10 minutes ago. This show.
It's terrible. I don't have predictions. I want them all to die.
I hope they do all die. Okay, now it's time for Goodwatch. So, I'll go first this time, so I think Andy went first last time. I have decided to cancel my Amazon Prime because it's really expensive and I don't use it enough. But because I realized I didn't use it enough, I'm going to use it like a lot for my last month of having it. And so I finally finished watching The Americans, which was a very good FX show. It ran for 6 seasons. And having finished the whole thing, I can easily say it is right up there with Breaking Bad as one of my all-time favorite TV shows. It's so good. The acting and writing is incredible, and you're so invested in all of these different storylines. Basically, everything Dark Matter fucks up, Americans does so beautifully. It's the reason Breaking Bad and The Americans are like my top 2 favorite shows. Are those are the only 2 times. Like, this has happened in movies before, but in TV shows, I think it's rarer for me to see something and I'm like, oh my God, I really wish I'd written that or had that idea, where just like the narrative becomes so interesting all at once. And like moments like that happen throughout both of those shows in ways that are really awesome. And so yeah, go watch The Americans if, unlike me, you are not canceling your Amazon Prime.
I need to check that out. I actually haven't seen
that.
Well,
also, I should mention, if you haven't heard of the show, it's set in the Reagan administration, and it's about Russian spies who are illegal immigrants in the U.S., but living as Americans, and while they live here, they are doing cool spy shit. And like the show focuses primarily on a married couple who live outside Washington, D.C., and their front is like they run a travel agency, but they're actually spies. And then like in, I think, first or second episode of the show, across the street from them, an FBI agent moves in. And I know that sounds super gimmicky, but the way their characters interact with the FBI agent throughout the show, it's really like an amazing thing that they create there. So everyone go watch it. It's great.
So for my good watch, I wanted to say, because this is Dark Matter and they were making a spin-off Firefly, which I like, that should just be, I always have to recommend Firefly. It's super short. You can watch it in one sitting if you're really dedicated to it, and then it'll be over and you'll be very sad. Highly recommended.
Now,
but good.
You're real good. Okay, keep going. I didn't know you.
Yeah,
had
my real one. So it kind of make you talking about The Americans made me think of my favorite sort of spy movie, which is The Lives of Others.
That's not Das Leben der Anderen. Oh, that's such a good movie.
Which is It's just so good, and I don't know if the director has made anything since. Because
I mean, when you make a film as good as Das Leben der Anderen, I think like you can retire. Maybe you don't have enough money to like safely retire.
Yeah,
but
I think it won so many awards, and then there's like, where do you go from that?
It did win Academy Award
that.
for Best Foreign Film, and I think among several others. It's a truly beautiful, amazing movie. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd ever get my wife to sit through it, but
no, it's not a short watch, but it is an excellent watch.
It is an emotional roller coaster of spies, which is just kind of not something you really expect out of a spy film.
Correct me if I'm wrong, that's like Cold War Germany, right? Where it's like
no, it's worse than Cold War Germany. It's one of the subsections in Russia, like one of the umbrella countries under the umbrella, which means there's even less oversight.
Sure, that's right. Okay,
So
I haven't seen that since I was in college. Now I really want to go back and rewatch it. Oh, it's so good. Yeah. So to briefly touch on Firefly, I saw the pilot, which I think everyone agrees is awful. It's a really terrible episode of television, and it
establishes a ton of stuff, but it is the slowest pacing wise. It suffers.
I will say that, including Andy in this, there are many people whose opinions I respect who absolutely adore the Firefly series. So I should probably finish watching it at some point. And I did see.
Oh, you only watched the pilot?
Well, let me finish. I watched the pilot and I watched Serenity. So I have I bookended it, which because Firefly was canceled.
Serenity is the movie for anyone else.
Firefly was canceled, but then the fans were like, "We loved it," and so Joss Whedon's like, "I shall make a film," and it's called Serenity, and it's good. It's a good movie. So I'm sure the show is also good at some points.
After the first episode.
After the very terrible first episode.
Yeah. It never hits the grind that is dark matter, but it is some plotting pacing on the first episode. Yes.
Yeah.
It's a double episode too, so it's like an hour and a half.
Oh, that's why it feels so long.
It's actually so long as opposed to the 42
It actually
minute...
is that long as opposed to the time-space continuum that is dark matter.
The marathon.
I want to write to some physicist and be like, I found dark matter. It was canceled on SyFy. Just like make him so mad. But anyway, he's Andy.
And that guy's Evan.
And this is where we'll put the theme music. Okay, bye.
Yeah. It's been Bad Watch.
Bad Watch, that's our show. Okay. Bye for real now.